How are the wolves? How are the wolves? The wolves are indeed well. A warm welcome to each and every one of you for our chapel this morning. We take a different approach this morning with our panel of first gen staff and students, and moderated by Dr. Althea Richardson. A special thanks to our wrestling team for being double blessed. You will be here next week too. Thank you. We want to make sure if you are a freshman, this counts as an event response. So my college life class, some of them are here. Thank you for being here and joining and learning more about the experience of first-gen students and higher education. So thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here as well. Let's take a deep breath, breathe in the goodness of God, and pray. Almighty God, ageless and eternal, give us grace to see your presence in the young, the old, and all the in-betweens. Open our eyes and our ears and our hearts and hands to practice your love and bestow your audaciously lavish blessings among the generations. For our first-gen students, for our first-gen faculty and staff and coaches, for our panelist and moderator, we give you thanks that they have found a place of learning and teaching and welcome. And may we all take a deep breath of your goodness, O God, and shine forth to those around us. In Jesus' name, amen. It is my joy to introduce our Vice President for what's this? Community and belonging. Community left me. Dr. Althea Richardson, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Pastor David, and good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here for our special event in honor of First Generation College Student Week. I have to give a shout out to Dr. Carrie Whittier for her leadership and the committee that's planned the various events that you'll see this week. As Pastor David said, I'm Dr. Althea Richardson, Vice President for Community and Belonging, but I am also a very proud first-generation college student, and I have the honor and pleasure of moderating today's panel featuring members of our first-generation faculty, staff, community. Move it out of, is it blocking the, I'm getting the signal. Move your hair away from the microphone. You just tell me what I need to do to be clear. But we appreciate all of them being here. We only have about 45 minutes, so I'm going to dive right in because these folks have a wealth of knowledge and experience that we want to make sure that they have time to share with everybody. And I've asked Dr. Whittier to give me the 5-minute warning. So at 10:45, if you see her, that is because I've asked her to do that. I want to make sure y'all get out of here at 10:50 and get on to your next classes and things such as that. So my first question for our esteemed panel, I'm going to ask it, but I also want you to take a moment when you respond to it to introduce yourself to everyone so they'll know who you are and a little bit about your background. But my first question is, when did you first realize you were a first-generation college student, and what did that mean to you at the time? And we can start with you, Marley, and we can work our way down.
Good morning. My name is Marley Rourke. I am a senior. I am a political science major, criminal justice and pre-law minor. I am from Charleston, South Carolina, and my plans after graduating is to take a well-deserved gap year and then go into the military and do JAG work. And I first realized that I was a first-generation college student pretty early on, so my story is a little bit not normal. My parents did not graduate high school, and so I realized I was first generation when it came to graduating high school, and then obviously I was going to be first generation for college as well, and so it set on early for me that I was going to be a first generation student when it comes to high school and graduation.
Hi, my name is Pat Galliano. I'm professor of theater and speech and college life here at Newberry College. And for me, I've been here since 1994. It's 32 years now. I've been here a little while. And before that, I went to undergraduate school and earned a degree in speech and English education from University of South Florida in Tampa. And then I did my graduate work at Florida State University and graduated there in 1991. So for me, realizing, and actually I should say, before that I went to Lake City Community College, which is now Florida Gateway College in the north part of Florida. And that's where I started as a first-gen student. The question when I first read this, I said, I didn't know I was a first-gen student or it meant anything at all to me when I was a first-gen student. My parents grew up in the 1950s, late 1940s and 50s. And so they were not college students, and it wasn't maybe as regular, as normalized to go to college back then. So it didn't mean a whole lot to me at the time, but it means a lot to me now in my work I do here, especially with our first-year experience program.
Hi, I'm Myasia. I'm the assistant director here in admissions. I graduated in 2022 with my bachelor's of arts here at Newberry College. I think I realized that I was first gen when I came to college. I think there was like a panel or there was like a session during my first weekend about first gen, and I had no idea what that meant. I even questioned, I was like, my brother also graduated college, so does that mean I'm first gen? But a lot of students don't realize what first gen actually means, and I found out quickly that I was first gen when I joined that session.
All right, good morning. I'm Dr. Jameson Bridges. I serve as assistant professor for the business division here at Newberry College. Been here for an amazing 3 years. I hold a bachelor's of business administration degree in management from Francis Marion University with a concentration in HR management, an MBA from Southern New Hampshire, and a nice, shiny, brand new PhD from Columbia International University. I didn't realize I was considered a first gen, as I never heard of the term back then. However, I knew I was the first group of my family to attend college and actually graduate. At the time, I didn't understand what it meant, but just like many of you, I may necessarily didn't have enriching background where both my parents graduated college. So when it came time for me to embark upon my journey, a lot of the processes seemed real unfamiliar, and I felt really lost. I didn't have that assistance as many of my friends, who came from that background did. So at many times I felt as if I was lost in a forest with no map. But that also meant that being a first gen, I had the ability to create and build my own path. So while I was lost, I was still finding myself and discovering what it was I was meant to do. So that's what first gen meant to me.
Yeah, and thank you all, first of all. You have kind of delved into my next question, so I'm going to start with you and work my way back, because the question is, what are or were some of the biggest challenges you face or faced as a first generation college student navigating that college life? So you could approach it academically, socially, personally, and just because you've already touched on some of those things, if you could expound on that, and then we'll work our way back.
Sure thing. All right. So I came from a single parent household raised by my mother and the oldest of my siblings in the home, which meant as the oldest male in the house, a lot of financial responsibility also I shared. So I have held a job since I was 14 years old and have been financially responsible for someone since then. So the biggest struggle I had when I began my college career was balancing my workload, both at work and also in college, and also taking care of financial obligations. So my biggest struggle was doing the juggling act, if you want to call it that. How to manage home, my finances, my family's finances, as well as my academic career. It was difficult, but I managed it. So if I can do it, I would like to encourage everyone that you can as well.
I think one of the challenges for me was understanding financial aid. I work in admissions, like I mentioned earlier, so financial aid is still something that a lot of parents including non-first gen parents. They kind of get scared of that conversation, but navigating financial aid with a single mom as well, who had not been to college, getting to understand what a loan was or what was a grant, what was going to be paid back, what needed to be paid back was definitely something that her and I had to understand and learn together. Even as like a junior, senior in college, you still have to have those conversations in financial aid as a first gen student to make sure that I'm not taking out too many loans or I understand what I'm taking out. So I think financial aid and understanding what was on my financial aid package was definitely what was a challenge for me. I remember getting a letter about a $5,000 life scholarship, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. But I didn't realize that it was $5,000 at every school. That's not what one school was giving me. That was every school. So I had to realize there was a gap that I was going to have to cover, and fortunately, my mom and I figured it out. So
some of my challenges as a first-year student, and again, I didn't know or consider that I was a first-year student, but it was just tough. I think there's some of the same challenges that a lot of our students face now. I didn't understand how the financial aid worked, as Maisha talked about. I didn't know what a registrar was or where the office was on the campus. And I didn't know, selecting classes and stuff. Luckily, I had a good advisor who helped me through that process, and then I learned how to do it on my own. We didn't have computers back then. Yeah, I'm old enough to say that. Back in my day, yeah, we didn't have computers. So, but I figured it out, and it taught me some really good things. I had to work while I was in college too because I was supporting myself, and so one of the best things that happened to me was I went to a smaller school. And I think that's one of the reasons why I still like this environment and why I find myself and my purpose here at Newberry College, because it reminds me of my first college experience at the community college. Even though we're a four-year institution, it's a similar environment and it's close. And that's how I navigated that with the people that I was in the program with, and through relying on people that were there to help me.
Thank you.
So socially, for me, as a first-generation student in high school, it was a little bit tough because my best friend, her mom was actively in college when we were in high school, and her sister was in college. She was also going to college, and so they had already had it figured out. And I remember having conversations with her and some other people and feeling dumb because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know that you have to apply for scholarships, and I didn't know that you have to keep a GPA to get your state scholarships and stuff like that. And again, with FAFSA, I didn't know any of those things, and I remember oh, I'm interested in this school, and Janae, my best friend, had to understand and explain to me that some schools aren't accredited, and what does accreditation mean, and I just remember this whole process of trying to find my college, and I just picked the best one, the one that gave me the most money, and the first one that I met, and thankfully it was Maisha. So, but I remember feeling kind of like a little behind, or again dumb because of that, but academically. I think that being a first-generation student makes me work even harder. Because my parents didn't graduate high school and they didn't go to college, they were never super hard on me about my grades. And my grades and the grades that I make are all for me personally. I take a lot of pride in making good grades. And so I think academically it makes me want to be better and strive and do more because I understand that I have created everything that I've done in life for myself. I did this all by myself. And so I think it makes me work harder, and it's a little bit more rewarding academically as a first-generation student because it gives me more purpose, I feel like.
All right, awesome. Thank y'all so much. This is so wonderful. So the next question that I have for you, and you've actually all, I think, in lots of ways touched on it as well. It's a long question, so bear with me, but I have to give the background on what the question means for your sake as well as the audience. So there is a concept called community cultural wealth that speaks to the ways in which communities of people, and in this case, first generation communities, are encouraged to think of the strengths, the knowledge, and the resources or assets, if you will, that they possess as a member of their community that they've used to navigate and succeed. Examples might include the ability and the motivation to maintain our, because I am also first gen, hopes and dreams for the future, even in the face of obstacles, the ability to navigate institutions that don't always seem designed with us in mind, the knowledge and traditions we bring with us from our extended family networks, etc. So I'm going to start with you, Marley, because you also kind of started in your comment there about what some of that community cultural wealth was for you. But give us an example of community cultural wealth that you brought to your educational experience as a first-generation college student.
There's a couple that come to mind, but I would say the biggest one for me is that me and many other first-generation students, we have the ability to overcome and do things that are unheard of and unthinkable. And I think that that's the biggest thing for me, is that you have the ability to just be great.
So for me, a lot of the people that I got to know in college, I knew a couple of them from high school, but the group that I was with was in theater, and we, as I said, it wasn't as big a deal. No one really pointed out to us that we were first-gen students, but we were experiencing some of the same issues. And I hope that this carries into some of the first-gen students we have here at Newberry, too. There shouldn't be a stigma associated with it. It's who you are. It's what you know and don't know, and no question should go unanswered. And we never, so that's the thing. None of us felt odd about asking questions or asking for help. And so I hope that people can take from that that's been going on for years with college students, and for decades, I should say, because it was 4 decades ago for me. And so hopefully they can, just use that to help.
I would say being optimistic and knowing that there was no limit for me. I started here by just being on the cheer team, and I was introduced to a lot of things. I always like to say Newberry College is like a buffet. You just like walk through, pick up stuff. You can't put it back because you have that experience already now. So I think being optimistic and knowing there was literally no limit. If I wanted to join one organization, I could. And practically I did it. I was involved in about 4 different organizations. But yeah, I think that's really, I've carried that now. Like even after I've graduated, the optimistic part of there's literally no limit for me. I can do whatever I want, and being first gen has definitely helped me, like Marley said, believe that I can be great. So.
One type of cultural wealth I believe I carried with me was the sense and importance of community and family, familial capital, if you will. Luckily, although my family didn't have the knowledge regarding college procedures and information that many of my peers had, I still had their support. I'm a preacher's kid. I'm a preacher's grandkid. Basically, everybody in my family preaches but me. So I had tons of prayer, support, conversations, discussions that kind of kept me motivated, and that's one concept I brought to my college experience: the sense of having a family, community, and kind of building each other, especially in those times where we feel our weakest.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for that. So Marley, the next question is specifically for you as a current first-gen student. So how has being first-gen shaped the way you approach college and your sense of purpose?
So I definitely touched on this already. For me, being a first gen, it's a whole different experience. It's something that I can't explain to somebody that's not a first gen. And so for me, my approach to college, and like I stated, even in high school, I graduated with a 4.0 GPA. I take pride in being top of the top, but that also means that I give a lot more in everything I do. And like Maya just said, I delve into everything I could do. I joined a sorority. I'm on the cheer team. I'm in this honor society, that honor society. I work for admissions. I do anything and everything because, again, I created this. And I am creating the legacy for my kids, and so that they don't have to be first-generation student. And I'm gaining all of this knowledge for them. And so I think that is why my approach is a little bit stronger and more emotional than some other students. And it also, that is where all of my sense of purpose comes from. It's very rewarding to see being appointed to be on this panel today when I didn't offer to be here, but somebody saw me and knew that I was a first generation student. And that is my purpose. That is why I'm here, because people see me, they see my effort, everything I do on campus, they see, and they see that I do it to the fullest. And so, I feel like, I don't want to make it my whole personality, but being a first generation is pretty much my whole personality, because it's the reason I am who I am. So
That's awesome. Thank you, Marley. So for our faculty and staff on the panel, similar but different question. more focused on your work here at Newberry College. So your question is, how does your own first-gen experience shape the way you teach, advise, or support students today? I should say and/or, because you do all of the above. But so, and we could start wherever you want to with the three.
Sure. Going back to being, optimistic, there's no limit. I think my favorite thing about being an admissions counselor is telling a first-gen student or any student that you can go to college, and it can be affordable if you come to Newberry College specifically. But that is one of my favorite things. So I lead with, I understand where you're coming from when it comes to I'm confused, am I going to be able to afford college? I'm scared. And comforting a family, a prospective student, is one of my favorite things to do. So I use my first-gen experience in that asset, because it's like you're able to do it. It doesn't matter where you come from. We can get you here specifically at Newberry, but I use that as my way to get into a family's heart, basically.
Excellent. It works. You two had your own experience when you came in, so that's awesome. Yeah.
I'm certain that my experience gives me a touch of empathy when I'm talking with my advisees, when I'm teaching my college life classes with our first-year students. I do understand. I've been there. And so I always strive to answer the questions that way, and I hope my students get that sense from me that, there's no stupid questions. They're questions. And so, that's how it informs the way I teach and support and advise my students today.
Thank you.
I believe the way my college experience kind of shaped the way I teach is, like I mentioned earlier, I'm big on support. All right, being that resource for any and all my students. So when it comes to how I facilitate my classrooms, it's an environment in which you can inquire. You're here to learn. You're here to develop, become a more engaged global citizen. So you're not going to have all the answers, and that's okay. I don't have all the answers, even with my shiny PhD, right? So even when, let's just say, you don't know the answers, all right, it's okay. You're here to learn, and we're going to walk you through it. So being able to offer that support, especially in your weak areas, to help you develop, that's been the overall approach I've taken in my lessons based off my college experience.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. So the next one brings it home to us being a Lutheran-affiliated institution, and the question is, rooted in that Lutheran understanding of grace and community, we believe that no one walks alone. Who or what guided or sustained you through your first-gen journey? And whoever wants to answer.
How's that? So I have elder siblings who went to college, and I do recall asking them some questions, but for the most part, I relied on my people at the college, as I said, my advisor, and my group of friends. And we made our family, if you will, and some of those folks, a good number of them, at least 8 or 10 of them, I'm still in touch with 4 decades later. In fact, in summer of 2024, we all gathered at our community college, and we did a theater production there with some of the same people who hadn't been on that stage for 40 years. It was pretty amazing. I hope that you all realize, whether you're first gen or not here, that you are making friends here, and I hope you keep them your lifetime. And if you want to, you will. And it's great to have those shared experiences. But that's what guided me, my family and my circle of friends who became my family.
Absolutely.
For me, the obvious answer is God. Coming into college, I've always believed in God. I didn't really grow up in the church. I grew up going to church sometimes with my friends, but coming to Newberry College, I have found, I don't want to say found him again, but found him again, and I have found a church, and I have found people at school who I can see God working through them, and I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but it's truly God. Like, there are some things that are just inexplainable. There are some things that just shouldn't have worked out that did, and there are some days where I would love to give up, and I would love to just go home and make money and do anything other than schoolwork, but then I have God telling me that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, and He has given me these opportunities and that I should do them in His name and to the fullest. So the first answer is God, but also my parents. if you know me, you know that my parents are very involved when it comes to me and my brother's lives, and and my little brother is in college currently as well, and so because they have 2 college students and we are doing anything and more that they never got to experience, they live through us so much, and so they pushed me to be the best that I could ever be. My mom has always wanted me to be involved in so many things, and she cries at every cheerleading thing I have because she just loves me that much. And even my dad too, like when I understand how much, and this, like, my degree when I graduate is not just for me, it's for my parents because it has their last name on it. It has their love, it has their education, it has all of what they did for me in my 20 years of life when I graduate. That is for them. That's not even only for me. And it's because they got me here. I would be nobody without them. I would be nobody without God. So that's who pushes me, and when I wake up every day, that's who I thank. So.
Ooh, I'm getting emotional up here myself, and that was your chapel word for today too. So work that in, Marley. Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, all right. So with me, I carry that mantle of being, quote unquote, the strong one amongst all my friends, family, and everything. But the pitfalls of being the strong one is that everybody can come and turn to you when they're in need, but when you're down, who do you turn to? I like to thank God for providing me that community, small community of family and friends that I could lean on, especially during my down times, especially those who could actually understand what I was going through, such as other friends, family members who have gone through the same process, or even a stranger on the street one time kind of encouraged me. So I've been grateful for that small community that's kind of pushed me and kind of helped me keep my head up, especially during those dark moments.
Just like everyone else, God for sure has sustained me through the journey of college. I truly don't know where I'd be without him. And like Marley said, the unexplainable things that happen, and you're like, wow. But now that I'm older, I definitely can think back, like, if I didn't have God and if I wasn't faithful, I don't know where I'd be. But the people here at Newberry also sustained me. You don't realize how important someone is to your journey until after the fact. I think about all the resources and the people that I had in my life during my 4 years, well, 3 years here, and they all weren't direct paths either. It wasn't just a professor, it was also an organization, my coach, Dr. Lassane. Dr. Lassane, never took a class with him, never was an advisor, but I knew to go to him, and he helped me through my senior year over something simple that I was going to break down about, but he definitely guided me. But I think about just the people at Newberry. I hope that all of you guys who are students here just realize, like, you can ask anybody here for help. You really, truly aren't alone. You have somebody. And I tell students now when I'm recruiting, I'm like, you cannot say that you don't have at least somebody on this campus that knows you and is going to be with you throughout your journey. You can't say that you have nobody, because there's somebody here on this campus that definitely is going to be right there with you. So I had a lot of people, tons of people, but the people at Newberry, they're special.
Awesome. So I've been sitting here really resonating with a lot that y'all have been saying, and as a first generation college student myself, just thinking through and reflecting on the ways that my experience is similar or different to those of you. Only one of my parents graduated high school as well, but it was never a question that I was going to go to college and their children. I was the youngest of 7. There was never another thought. And I also had the support of folks in my high school to guide me along the way, because I was made good grades, and that certainly supported that. But also, they didn't always know how to support me. I also had older siblings who went to college that I could ask some questions of, but there's some things that you just got to get on the campus and you got to find out, because every campus is different and you got to learn how to navigate. I went to the University of South Carolina undergrad, and I wanted to join a sorority, and my parents didn't support that because they didn't understand what that was, and they had heard all these horror stories and say, why am I going to give you money to do that kind of thing. And so it was really hard for me being there without them they're being supported, but they don't always understand what that support needs to look like, and so I can certainly resonate, but having those experiences really shape the way that I engage with the students that I engage with over my 30 plus years in higher education as well. So it's always in the background in my mind when I'm engaging with students, and I love my first gen students because, you know, we kind of share that path. So thank y'all for your responses so far. Just a couple more questions, and then if we have time at the end, and I haven't got that signal, then we can certainly open it up. But the next question is, if you could speak directly to another first-gen student just starting their journey, what encouragement or advice would you share? And we can go in any order.
Ask for help. I think that was another big thing for me. I was scared to just go up to somebody and ask for help, and utilize every resource on campus that you can, because you are paying for it. You are paying for every resource that's on this campus, so why not use it? So don't be afraid to ask for help. That's my biggest advice to any first-gen student.
The answer is don't take no. Don't let anybody tell you no. Don't let anybody say you can't, because you can and you will. Being a cheerleader, this is kind of off topic, but being a cheerleader in high school, everybody was like, you can't go pro for that. You can't. There's no point in doing that in college. Like, it's cheerleading. And so everybody told me I wasn't going to get scholarship money, and it's just a waste of time. And you know what? I do all of those things. I get scholarship money. I'm still on the cheer team. And, like, we compete nationally. Top 15 in the nation nationally as well. And so, like, don't let anybody tell you no. Don't let anybody say, oh, you can't do this because you're from a one-parent household, or you can't do this because your parents are maybe not from this country and don't have these experiences. Don't let anybody tell you no. Like, I've always said, if my dad doesn't tell me no and God don't tell me no, then the answer is not no.
My biggest piece of advice is understand that you belong, okay? You belong. You made it here, okay? There is a seat for you at this table that you have earned. Understand that strength isn't just about knowledge, but also being able and willing to learn and develop while you are here. And then going back to my earlier reference, that path, all right, understand that while you are in your own woods trying to create your own path, know that the path that you are creating is going to be the path for someone to come behind you. So understand that although your journey may not be pretty, may not be perfect, you may get scarred, you may get scratched and bruised in this wood, right, in this woods that you're in, but know that that path that you are creating is going to lead thousands others to the very same spot that you're in now.
I share this with all our first-year students, and it's particularly important for first-gen students. Get involved. We have lots of different organizations and groups. Find your tribe, find your group, your team, whatever it might be. I was lucky that I knew what I wanted to be involved in when I went to college. I got involved in the theater productions. And, you know, it also taught me some time management, obviously. Those of you that are athletes and those of you that are involved in organizations that you commit time to, know that you have to balance it, especially when you have to have a part-time job as well. Those are skills that I'm using every day of my life now as I keep a pretty busy schedule. But it also taught me something with my family that I had to just, it was a maturity thing. You know, sometimes families have events that they just plan and expect you to be at. And when I had commitments to my group rehearsals, I had to sometimes say, no, I can't do this activity anymore on Tuesday nights that we used to do. Because they were living in the same town my first year of college. And so it was a tough thing to do that first time because my parents never went to college. And it was a tough thing that first time to say, I have to do this instead of what you expect me and want me to do. But they understood, and luckily they supported because they understood that's a rite of passage. That's where we have to go in our lives. So I take that experience and I encourage all our students to get involved in something, whether it's your sport, or if your sport's down, maybe you can find another group to go to for a few weeks or a few weeks in the semester. So that's it. Get involved, find your tribe, and let them help sustain you as you move through this crazy 4 years of college.
Absolutely. Amen to all of that. And I would also just add or reiterate some of the things that have been said as a first-gen college student myself. You don't know what you don't know. And back when some of us were in college, first-gen wasn't a thing, and there weren't the wraparound services that are available to first-gen students like you see today. And so you just had to flounder and figure it all out. But there are people who work now specifically to support first-gen students. So ask questions, seek out help, get involved, take advantage of everything that this college experience has to offer you, and people are there to catch you when you fall, because they know what it's like being a first-gen student. So that's what I would add, or to enhance some of the things that have already been said. And Marley, I'm going to let you have the first word, the last word, and then if we have time for a question or two from the audience, we can take that as long as we're able to wrap it up by 10:50. But my question for you is, what advice would you give our faculty and staff about how to best support our current first-gen students?
So I've mentioned this a little bit, but I think for our faculty and staff, one of the main things that they have to understand when it comes to first-generation student is that we want it more than anybody, and our drive is a lot different than a lot of people. And so understanding that, and I know my advisors probably get so aggravated with me because I'm one of those students, I have my schedule picked out months in advance. As soon as course registration opens up, I'm there. And as soon as the study days open, or this assignment is due here, I am honestly overbearing, and I'm sure my professors are kind of like, can you just chill for 2 seconds, please. But understanding that we're not trying to be obnoxious, we're not trying to be all up in your skin, but we want it more than other people. And also, I think that another thing that, obviously I talk a lot, so this one doesn't really apply to me, but some other students that I have talked to, like Maya just said, they don't know where to go, they don't know how to ask for help, and I think that you just need to remember that closed mouths don't get fed. So you might have to go out of your way to ask those students, what do you need, how can I help you, what are you struggling with, because they might not know how to even ask the question. Maybe I don't know how to apply for a scholarship, but I'm not going to go up and ask anybody, so you have to understand sometimes you have to insert yourself into those students and be overbearing as well and ask them, what do you need, how can I support you, what can I do for you, because some people might not speak up about it. Not me, but and I think that's mainly it, is just understand that we're not trying to be overbearing and we're not trying to be too much. It's just there's a different reason of why we're here than some other people. So
Don't get fed, that's a word in and of itself. So we got 5 minutes, so I don't want to make it seem like y'all don't have anything to offer to that question. If there's something that you want to add for your colleagues about how they can better support our current first-gen students, I do want to offer that opportunity, and then we may have time for maybe one question from the floor. Does anyone want to? I think she did too. Does anyone out here have a question? Okay, I'm going to come to you. Okay. So the question is, how did you manage the financial responsibilities connected to getting master's, PhD, that type of thing? Is that your question? And how it affects your life now? All right, so for the folks up here with their masters and doctorates.
I went to school a long time ago, as I mentioned. So for me, it does not affect my life now because and it cost a lot less. So, but let me tell you the secrets that I tell my children, because they're, just out of college. And, you don't have to pay it all back at once. You've got to if you contact your student loan providers, typically they will work with you with an amount you can pay per month. And you have to keep in communication with them. Don't pay more than you can, because different people have different jobs with different incomes, and they might want you to pay a certain amount, but if you can pay less than that, that's good. and just be consistent with it. And when you don't have a job or when you're switching jobs, you can contact them and ask for a deferment for a few months. And sometimes the student loan companies will give those. So I hope those rules are still valid today, because that's what helped me with it back in the day. I couldn't pay them all back. I got a teaching job. I was teaching high school for 4 years, and I was making $20,000 a year when I graduated college, which was more than that is now, of course. But back then it was I just paid what I could.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's currently a program out there based on your income is how much you pay back for your student loans. Also know if you're in a current program, I'm currently getting my master's, your student loans are deferred. You can sign up for that too. So keep that in mind as well. If you're a full-time student. Yes, if you're full-time.
I like to co-sign with everything that they just said. Honestly, all of those options are there, and I just completed mine. So yeah, those options are still available. But also, just from a personal standpoint, understand proper budgeting and money management early. That's going to help you in the long run as well.
As a student now, my biggest advice is go get any and every scholarship. They tell you when you graduate, like, apply for the Coca-Cola scholarship. Nobody's going to get that. But go out into businesses and like local things, and that is where a majority of my scholarships have come, all 4 years, or 3 years, sorry, all 3 years I've been here, is that I have gotten like random little $1,000 scholarships from like a lodge or like a random business. Like the close local businesses will give you more money than any like federal scholarship will. So that's where a lot of my money has come from for this degree. Everything else, I don't know.
And what I would add to that is it depends on the institution in your academic programs, but sometimes you can go and get a master's degree at little to no cost, especially if you have what's called a graduate assistantship. Sometimes they'll defer the tuition and pay for that, and they'll pay you a stipend to live off of, and so you can go at little or no cost. The PhD program, when I got my PhD, I was fortunate enough to be working at the institution, and so the institution paid for that, and so that's been the fortune of working in higher education to be able to do that. But sometimes, depending upon who you're working for, they will pay for you to get those advanced degrees. I believe we are out of time, so perfect timing on that question. For folks who can stick around, and if you have a question directly for someone, feel free to ask them. But help me thank these panelists for their time and their sharing their experiences. And thank you all for being here, and have a wonderful rest of your day.